Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about improving communication. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how could I become more social as a developer, such as improving my communication skills and reducing my anxiety? Well, um, so usually, especially when it comes to anxiety, something that I am very familiar with, sometimes anxiety goes away or becomes reduced if you have a nice and stable environment, or if you improve your skills and you feel more confident, it can be reduced, and in many cases it will go away. But you should never underestimate that it might vary from person to person. So I usually tell people, especially if they have depression and anxiety over long periods of time, if it's something that you can almost describe as chronic, then seek medical attention, guys. It really is. At least I would suggest that you do that. I've done so myself when I've had when I've had rough patches and stuff like that. It Just do it, because there is help to get, and it's much better for you to go and talk to an actual doctor or someone who knows things, than to try to figure it out by yourself or so forth and so forth. Just as I like to say to you, like, think about it this way: if you think that the things that I'm saying is like worth hearing out, and like you sort of, I hope you'll think that I have some good ideas on things and so forth, it's because I've been doing this for a while, and your doctor is no different. They will know, hopefully know better, and so just talk to them. It's the same deal. Just do it. And when it comes to improving communication skills, so there are a few like. This is at the very least how I usually run teams when I work with them. So this becomes a lot easier if you have an environment where this is promoted and sort of encouraged. So one of the I really like, I usually don't I think it's a little bit silly sometimes that companies go too far with like values and things like that, where they try to flag for like their keywords and their value words and things like that. And usually I don't put too much into that when I work with a team, but there are a few things that I usually bring into a team where I basically just write that down, and most people, they read it once, and it's usually they feel that it's obvious, at least in my part of the world. And the reason why I do so is because I want to, like I've made this argument before, where if you write something down, sort of like the law is an official document or official guideline for how certain behavior should work. And if you have something that feels official, then whoever breaks that has more to prove than the people who are advocating for the thing that is, doctrine or like official and so forth. That can be, of course, be very misused, so be careful with it. But the basic idea is that I always say that the first and most important part of any team structure is to over communicate. Now, why I say over communicate means that what people mean different things when they talk about communication and so forth. So when I try to explain to my team, what do you mean by over communicate, I basically say that I expect you to explain to your coworkers what you're doing as soon as you're doing something. Inform them basically and ask for their opinion about anything you're doing that is not exclusively scoped to your story. If it has any impact on the direction of the project, the priority of the work, that like you're switching like from one thing to another or doing something like that, you are to inform them about that. Just as football players or whatever, like playing on a field and so forth, if you just decide to leave your position on the field, then you explain why, because we are all working together. And that is a key thing, and you can use that in the same way, even if you don't have, say, someone who promotes it within the team. But you can use the same heart and soul of that idea and basically treat your coding as a collaborative exercise. Uh, Another way of looking at it is a little bit like martial arts. So I've done martial arts, well, not for a few years now, because after I became an IT nerd, I didn't do all that much sports anymore. But the the idea behind work in martial arts is that you have this, I like to call it, that perfect balance between individual achievement and collaborative environments, because each contender in like boxing or like karate or whatever you're doing, right, you are there learning for yourself, but you're doing so in a group. So it's not a team sport per se, like you're competing as individuals, but you work as a team in order to hone your skills and to get as good as you can. Treat software development the same way. Basically treat it as you trying to master this thing, but you also recognize that by teaching others or asking for opinions and like having others check your form, you will also improve. So an example of this in practice is something that I do almost on a daily basis, guys. It depends, of course, what I'm working on. So, I mean, I don't work so fast so every day that I can get daily feedback on things. But when I have an idea, or I think we should do something new, or I have a story where I'm thinking I'm going to do something, I always post a message to like my coworkers and I say, I'm thinking we're going to do this or that, or I think I'm going to do this or that. Do you have some thoughts? And usually you will find that the same thing is true for the martial artists as it is for like the software developers, at least my experiences. They will have thoughts. People have opinions. They're like, everybody has an opinion about everything in many cases. And they will usually share that with you. And so what you do now is that you create an organic conversation between you and the people around you. You don't even have to feel bad about it. Like, you don't have to force a conversation with people about the weather or something like that. You're asking for their feedback on something that is meaningful, and they can provide that feedback if they're interested in communicating with you. If they're not interested in communicating with you, then you have at least taken the first step. And you should, as any good conversationalist, know you shouldn't force a conversation upon somebody, but you can invite them in to a conversation. And you just did that by just asking their thoughts on the coding that you are doing with the people around you, on something that you are literally interested in doing as well as you can. So it's double benefit. You might get some insights, and you build a more close relationship with the people in your team and so forth, assuming now that your communications this cascades over, guys, to other areas as well. I'm just keeping it within the context of your software team. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you want to improve your like reducing your anxiety, I suggest that you think about anxiety as what fundamental, like in many cases it is something that is wrong within your environment. It can also be that you're insecure about your skills or things like that, but guys, there are genetic factors and like other things that can be playing in here. So talk to a doctor. Talk to someone who knows this stuff, because there is medicine for this stuff. There is like support that you can get for these sorts of things. Don't just sit and suffer. I promise you, it's not fun, and it doesn't. In some cases, it just doesn't go away, no matter how good you get that software development or how much money you make or things like that. There are plenty of people who are very, very successful who still struggle with these sorts of things, guys. So look for help. And as for communication skills, I highly suggest that you start involving your coworkers in your coding and think of it as doing martial arts. You're here to master a craft, to make individual achievements as a practitioner of software development or a coder. But you do so in a team environment, and you do so in a collaborative way, where you invite people to like basically give feedback on the things that you are doing while you're doing them and so forth. Like an example would be I have a front-end developer now who feels very insecure about he takes a really long time on his story, and so he feels like he's like just sitting here like endlessly working, and everybody just waits for him to get done. And I told him, do this one little exercise. Once you finish one part of the page you are working on, post a screenshot of that progress to this channel where me and the others, like the team, is working, and tell us what's done now, and the next thing you did, and the next thing that is working, or like you're having a problem with something but you're making progress. Give us very small periodic updates on how things are going or what things you are looking at right now, because now you feel as if you feel like people are aware of that you're making progress, and they have a chance to give you feedback if you're doing the right thing or if they have a better suggestion and so forth. And all of a sudden you have a conversation going, because some people have a lot of feedback to give you, and some people might, yeah, okay, cool, it's nice that you like that you're making progress and things like that. This is a very organic way that I use myself. I do this all the time, guys, and it's actually one of the biggest tips I can give you if you want to get to be a really good product manager or tech lead or something like that when you're dealing with stakeholders and so forth, because people want to see progress. They don't necessarily need to wait to hear nothing from you for the longest time and then just see the end result. It's really nice sometimes to just see that things are moving in the right direction. And if you just do that little thing, you're now inviting people to have a conversation with you. You're not forcing them, you're just giving them the option. And then after a little while, you will probably start feeling pretty comfortable just telling people what's going on. Have a great day.